Call to order the Regulatory Review Committee meeting for 6 p.m. Thursday, April 11th. David Key.
Here.
Dan Ormsby.
Here.
And Mark Eastman here. Jeff, Chapter 10, Article 4. You can talk about that?
Yes, thank you. You may recall about 2 months ago the town manager presented some draft changes to Section 10-402 of Article 4. And that actually went to the first reading of town council. After that, I approached the town manager and suggested that maybe we also take a look at the first section in Article 4 that deals with heavy load restrictions, because there were things in there that were unclear and not up to date. So she agreed to have me take a look at that. In the process of doing that, I began to think about what through truck traffic meant. There's no definition of it in Chapter 10, so when I began to look at that, I came up with an idea to clarify what through truck traffic meant. And in the process of doing that, some of the things that the manager had proposed ended up being really not necessary, and other things were incorporated in this new draft. So that's what we're looking at tonight, is a complete rewrite of the entire Article 4. So Section 10-401 deals with heavy load restrictions, and primarily.
What page are you on there, Jeff?
Page 1.
Okay. That's where we start.
Yeah.
All right.
This section 10-401 deals primarily with weight restrictions on roads that are frozen, typically in the wintertime. And paragraph number 1 clarifies that the municipal officers authorize the Public Works Director to temporarily restrict the use of any town road when deemed necessary to protect the road from damage. So that could be done any time of year. And number 2 deals with what happens in the wintertime to roads. And the proposal here is to not just say it in simple terms, but give a little bit of explanation about why we're concerned about frozen roads and the impact that heavy truck traffic can have. So would you like me to read this, Mr. Mayor? I can read the, excuse me.
Sure.
Right, okay. The use of any town road with a solidly frozen road base is subject to seasonal weight restrictions when the road base begins to thaw and is softened by the presence of water. A solidly frozen road base is considered to be thawing if the air temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or higher and water is present in road surface cracks to indicate that thawing is taking place. Upon determining that thawing conditions are present or imminent, the Public Works Director shall temporarily limit the use of town roads to any vehicle registered for a gross weight of no more than 23,000 pounds. Upon posting seasonal weight restrictions in accordance with this section, no person may thereafter operate any vehicle with a registered gross weight in excess of the posted weight limit during any applicable time period on a road so posted, unless otherwise exempt. So you note that there's a lot of lined out text here. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not still in the draft. If you look up on the board here, I've highlighted parts that are not in the draft any longer. They've been taken out. The reference to an unfrozen or wet road base, that looking at it that way is no longer proposed. We're looking at it as a thawing, a frozen road base that's thawing and has water and cracks, not just the entire road base being wet. And the other one that's not in here any longer is the exception that allows any 2-axle delivery or service truck registered in excess of 23,000 pounds and making deliveries or providing services to any home or business located along the restricted portion of the road. That's been replaced with similar language, but it deals more narrowly for providing essential services or making essential deliveries. The reason why I'm suggesting that is because if you have something like that, it really kind of makes the weight restriction kind of pointless, because now you're allowing these heavy vehicles to go freely over posted roads, back and forth to any business, back and forth to any dwelling. So the state rules actually focus on the essential services and essential deliveries. So I thought we'd take a look at that and see if it made sense for Bucksport as well. So number 3 is a new proposal. We don't have anything equivalent to this now. Public notice of vehicle weight restrictions shall be published on the town's website and social media, and on an orange placard posted on each restricted public road at such locations that have been determined by the Public Works Director to provide sufficient notice to motorists of the weight restrictions. The notice shall contain, at the minimum, the name of the road, the registered gross weight limit, the time period during which the restriction applies, the date on which the notice was posted, the applicable statutory and regulatory references, and the name of the Public Works Director and contact information. Number 4 deals with exemptions. The following vehicles with a registered gross weight of more than 23,000 pounds are exempt from the weight restrictions in this section. A, any vehicle traveling without a load other than tools or equipment necessary for the proper operation of the vehicle. This exemption does not apply to special mobile equipment. This is a rewording of something we already have. B, any emergency vehicle, we have that. C, any school bus or public transportation vehicle, that's not currently in Chapter 10. D, any vehicle that's conducting public road maintenance in Bucksport. We have something similar to that now that refers to town vehicles. This really covers any state or town vehicle that's conducting public road maintenance. E, any vehicle under the direction of a public utility and engaged in maintenance or repair. We don't have that in the ordinance now. F, any vehicle making essential deliveries or providing essential services to any home or business in Bucksport that cannot be accessed except by traveling on a posted road. So an example of an essential delivery would be heating oil, medications or medical equipment, or food that's needed by the property owner. And an example of essential services would be if you had a driveway culvert that collapsed and you needed to have repaired. Equipment can come in and do that. Or if you had a tree fall on your property that is damaging things, you need to have that taken care of. That can be done. Or if your well goes dry. Those are all essential services that can be conducted by vehicles heavier than 23,000 pounds on the restricted roads. Number 5, G, any vehicle authorized by the Public Works Director to travel to or from the property on a posted town road during such time when temperatures allow a road base to temporarily refreeze to the extent that the vehicle may travel on the road without damaging it. That's a practice that's done now, I think, from time to time, but this actually involves the Public Works Director in allowing that to happen. Number 5, any exempt vehicle identified in Section 10-4014 must travel the shortest route necessary on weight-restricted town roads to reach a destination. Upon complaint, the Bucksport Police Chief shall determine the shortest route. We have a similar provision that is located in Section 10-402, but not in 10-401, so I thought it might make sense to have that in 10-401 as well. And then the next section is taken out because it's very confusing. And it's not consistent with state rules. What it does say is, for the purpose of the section, a road base is considered unfrozen or wet if the air temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or above and water is showing in the cracks of the road. What's inconsistent with this to state rules is that it says if either condition exists. In state rules it says both conditions have to exist. And the proposed change reflects that. So the next section deals with through truck traffic. And we'll start off by reading number 1. Through truck traffic on any of the roads or streets listed in the section is limited to vehicles with a registered gross weight of no more than 34,000 pounds unless otherwise exempt. So again, I've deleted every reference right here, but they're reworded and put in alphabetical order. And you see on the screen, those names that are in the ordinance now are not in this proposal because they're no longer names recognized by the town of Bucksport on any street. Charlie Cole Road, Hinks Road, and Dead River Road. Am I going too fast? Okay. So the following roads and streets or portions thereof shall be permanently posted with signage identifying a 34,000-pound registered gross weight limit for through truck traffic. I'm going to scroll down here to a map that shows you how some changes are being proposed. So Broadway, actually the current language prohibits through traffic on Broadway, but currently Broadway's posted for through traffic. On the Central Street end and at the beginning of Nicholson Avenue, there are signs that allow 34,000 or limit to through traffic to 34,000 pounds. So that's not consistent with what our ordinance says now, that through traffic is not allowed at all on Broadway. I talked to the police chief about that, and he felt that it might make sense to have the signage remain in place to be consistent with other roads, and so that's being proposed, that Broadway in this draft will be recognized as a street that's allowed for through traffic but subject to the 34,000-pound limit. Bucks Mills Road. This is a proposed change to Bucks Mills Road. Currently, the posting begins where Bucks Mills intersects with Millvale and Central Street. Central Street is a state road, and it does not have a 34,000-pound limit on it. So my thinking was that if you had a vehicle over 34,000 pound travel up Central Street thinking that they could continue through the back roads of Bucksport, they're going to hit this sign right here that stops them on Bucks Mills Road. They might think, well, okay, Millvale Road's not posted, I'll travel up Millvale Road. Well, you can travel up just this far, and there's another posting sign there. So a truck traveling up to here is at a dead end, and they're faced with having to continue traveling on town roads illegally. There's no way out. So my thought was to move the posting limit to the intersection of Russell Hill Road. So posting on Bucks Mills begins right here. So a truck coming up here, and also to post Millvale beginning right here. So areas shaded in yellow are proposed to be posted that are not posted now. The area shaded in orange is posted now, but the proposal is to remove the posting. So a truck can travel up as far as Russell Hill Road, and then turn on Russell Hill Road and exit out onto Route 46. There's a way out for them. Church Road is not posted now, and neither is Bucks Mills Road from that intersection to the Orrington Town line. I'm not sure why it's not posted along with the rest of Bucks Mills Road. A heavy truck coming down the Bucksport Road from Orrington, hitting the town line, if there was a posting sign there, they would be able to turn around. There's a school bus turnaround right there at the town line. A tractor trailer probably couldn't, or a dump truck hauling a trailer probably couldn't. But that's the idea. And then, of course, Bucks Mills is posted now, so that a truck coming, currently a truck coming up Church Road, couldn't turn left. They have to go this way. But if you put a posting sign there, then you're eliminating that the confusion and conflict about why a portion of Bucks Mills Road is posted, but the rest is not. Keep in mind that that's for through truck traffic. So I want to make that point, through truck traffic. If you're not a through truck, by definition, you don't have to worry about these postings. And that's, we'll talk about that in just a second, so what makes a through truck traffic. So Church Road, Mast Hill Road between Upper Falls Road and Bald Mountain Road, that's as currently posted. Millvale Road, as I pointed out, the proposal is to post the entire length of the road. Nicholson Avenue is already posted. Park Street is planned to be connected to Broadway, so the proposal is to post that as well. Silver Lake Road is currently posted, and Town Farm Road is currently posted. Signs shall be posted on each restricted road at such locations that have been determined by the Public Works Director to provide sufficient notice to motorists of the weight restrictions. So number 2 here, here's what is highlighted in yellow is not being replaced. And as I said earlier, the language about Broadway not being allowed for through truck traffic is not being replaced. And then the bonding requirement, this is a proposal by the town manager to eliminate the bonding requirement, so that's also not being, that's being replaced with some language that allows the public works director some latitude about dealing with heavy truck traffic that is damaging a town road. So page 4 are exemptions. The following vehicles with a registered gross weight of more than 34,000 pounds are exempt from the weight restrictions in this section. Any vehicle that's not a through truck is defined in section 10-402. Any vehicle traveling without a load other than tools or equipment necessary for the proper operation of the vehicle. This exemption does not apply to special mobile equipment. That's consistent with what's in the ordinance now. Any emergency vehicle, any school bus or public transportation vehicle, that's new. And any vehicle that's authorized by the Public Works Director as a through truck in such instances where the vehicle's need to travel over weight-restricted roads was reasonably unforeseen and is non-recurring. An example of that would be, again, if you posted Bucks Mills Road at the Orrington Town line and you had a heavy vehicle coming into Bucksport from Orrington and they saw the sign, they'd have to stop, call up the Public Works Director and explain their situation and perhaps get permission to continue on if they couldn't turn around. The above exemptions may be modified by more stringent temporary restrictions in effect as provided for in section 10-401 or by restrictions deemed necessary by the Public Works Director to protect a damaged road from further damage by heavy vehicles. An example might be where you have a timber harvest going on and you have these heavy trucks loaded with logs pulling out from a site onto a town road, and they're starting to break down the pavement at the shoulder. That's noticed by the Public Works Director. You can speak to the operator and perhaps find a way to minimize any further damage. Any vehicle with a registered gross weight over 34,000 pounds must travel the shortest route necessary on weight-restricted roads to reach a destination. Upon complaint, the Bucksport Police Chief shall determine the shortest route. That's in there now. So here we go in definitions. The definitions for restricted roads or streets and residential property or use are deleted because those terms aren't used in this proposed draft. Route remains. And special mobile equipment, it modifies that definition a little bit. The current definition is for a term special equipment. Special mobile equipment is a term that's used in state DOT rules, and the language is out of the definition from special mobile equipment in state rules, which is a motor vehicle with permanently mounted equipment not designed or used primarily for the transportation of persons or property, including but not limited to road construction or maintenance machinery, ditch digging apparatus, stone crushers, air compressors, power shovels, cranes, graders, rollers, well drillers, and wood sawing equipment or similar types of equipment. So the next definition is new, through truck. A through truck is any truck that enters Bucksport with no planned stop in Bucksport. A planned stop is a predetermined location where an intended activity that is directly related to the function of the truck is conducted or where the truck is parked at the end of the day. So you have trucks that begin their route outside of Bucksport and they come into Bucksport and they stop at a property to conduct a business function, or stop at a gravel pit and load up. That's not a through truck. You have a truck that's coming into Bucksport with the intention of traveling the back roads to take a shortcut to some other destination out of Bucksport. That's a through truck. And those are the ones that are regulated by the 34,000 pound limit. So if you're not a through truck, you're not regulated or restricted by that 34,000 pound limit. I want to make that clear because you could have a truck registered for 80,000 pounds, and if you come into Bucksport and you're stopping to conduct business, you're not a through truck. So you can travel over the 34,000 pound roads. That also applies to any businesses located in Bucksport, contractors who we have in Bucksport. They're not through trucks. They originate their trip from Bucksport, or they come back in from outside of Bucksport to their destination, their business location, place where they park their truck at the end of the day. They're not through trucks. Is that clear? And the last definition is a vehicle, a motorized means of transporting people, equipment, and cargo on public roads in accordance with state law, and which contains at least two axles and may also be combined with a towed vehicle or trailer. You see the term a lot in the current ordinance. It talks about a vehicle or combination of vehicles. This definition here is intended to simplify that, so it's not so wordy. A vehicle may mean just a truck, or it may mean a truck hauling a trailer. I think that's what the term vehicle or combination of vehicles is meant to apply to.
Mm-hmm.
And then section 10-403 currently refers to penalties. I'm suggesting we also talk about enforcement. That's not clear in Article 4. So the proposed change is the Bucksport Police Department shall enforce any restriction on the use of town roads and streets as identified in Article 4. And then the remaining language is existing. Any questions?
Yes. I guess I don't see the reason for all of this. There's, the only thing that I saw that really made any sense was putting a sign at the Russell Hill Road if it's blocked out from beyond there. But we're putting a lot of onus on a public works director for somebody to phone him when they're on a Saturday coming down through and they can't get a hold of him. Are they supposed to park? I mean, I guess I don't know what's their recourse for doing that. And the second part is, and I guess I'll ask the chief, or how much of an issue are we getting with this? What are we trying to satisfy by doing this?
Clarifying confusing terms that exist now in Article 4.
But we're adding a lot more onus on a lot more things that aren't confusing. There's a lot more adding on here. The confusion part, which I saw with the road, changing that is absolutely confusing. But all this other language in here of phoning the public works director and him making a decision over a phone when he has no idea what that truck looks like or anything else, I'm sorry, but I don't see where that makes any sense at all. Through truck, who's to, the guy says that he stopped someplace. How are we to know one way or the other whether he stopped at a business or he stopped at Irving to grab a coffee? I guess the enforcement piece of this is going to be mind-boggling. I don't know what we're trying to accomplish here other than maybe fixing where the road is not posted, where they got to turn around and run it down the Russell Hill Road.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was going through it. I guess it doesn't hurt to have it there, but it's from a practicality standpoint. How are we going to enforce it? What's it going to mean? A guy can't get down, can't turn around. He comes into Bucksport from morning, he can't turn around, so he heads down the road. I suppose if somebody sees him and calls the chief's going to send somebody out. They're going to give him a warning, a written warning. Is that and then the next time he does it, it just seems difficult to enforce and more stuff with the paper and not really practical in a real sense. I guess it doesn't hurt to have it there. But,
and the way the roads are, you throw salt down on the road, it's going to cause water. We're carrying thermometers. Temperature on the Bucks Mill Road may be 32, but it may be 30 degrees on the Russell Hill Road. It's really a pretty easy thing from my experience of finding out when the road should not be run across. There's a police officers that handle this stuff, and the chief hopefully will back me up on this, that it's fairly easy to tell when the road should be posted and shouldn't be posted. When the vehicle should not be going across those roads.
For 23,000 pounds?
For when the road is posted for the
23,000 pounds?
34,000 or whatever the posting is going to be.
But the 34,000 is permanent posting, 23,000 is temporary posting.
I understand that, but again, do we have scales in the town that we're going to register them? It's a registered vehicle for that, and most of these are six-wheeled vehicles. I think we've got a lot to do here that's making the matter a lot more confusing on an issue that personally I don't see that we're. Chief, can I ask you, are we dealing with this a lot?
From time to time, we are.
And what's the recourse? What are you doing?
We're normally overly fair to people and try to get them turned around or give them a warning, like Mr. Carmichael said. And if you do it again, you don't adhere to the warning, you're gonna get a summons.
And like we've talked about in the past on this council, you know, that's where I think we should be using a little common sense and turning these things around, instead of being so onerous and putting so many rules in place that, you know, I'm not gonna be able to figure these out, and I'm not sure the public works director is gonna be able to figure out when he's supposed to call.
The Public Works Director has reviewed this and has no issues at all with it.
I understand he may not have any issues, but again, if I'm driving down the road and I'm trying to call him what I have to do, that's where I stand on it. I think it's kind of over the top and too much for what we have.
Anyone else on the committee?
I think it's a lot too. I think it's a lot going on here. Simpler is better.
Yep.
Hard to argue with that.
Yep.
We'll bring it back to the next committee meeting after we look over the issues. There were incorrect road names, there were a
And
number of
those things
that
I think that you
all
can
of those
fix, you know, the
things need
posting
to
of the Russell Hill where you've got, basically got a half a mile of road where it is not posted and posted.
There are some things in there that need to be clarified, there is no more Hinks Road.
Right,
There's a
that's-
lot of
yeah.
things in there that-
Correct.
And I did review it, and it takes a lot of responsibility off me, and puts it on the Public Works Director. I talked to him, he said he didn't mind, but, you know, it's all up to what you people want us to do.
I think the shifting of that responsibility is due to the elimination of the requirement for bonding by the town manager. That's in the past, that's how that was dealt with when you had heavy loads and there was a risk of damage to a road. The truck driver would come to the town manager and talk about bonding so they could travel over that road. The recommendation is now to not require bonding, so you have to replace that with something, don't you?
What's your experience been, Sue, in other
The
communities?
reason that I had requested to eliminate the bonding is that it's virtually impossible to know what truck did what where, and the bonding only applied to people who wanted to violate the over 34,000, which was more broad than the majority of the people who are doing business in Bucksport and going through wanted to see. The idea that we're not limiting, that we find a way to not impact those doing business in Bucksport who are traveling that way, and the ones that apply for those permits are not Bucksport, because people doing business in Bucksport were exempted. I don't think that I think it's an onerous process to go through to do bonding for something that is somebody who wants to use the road to simply travel through Bucksport, which is what the case was with that, and that's more work in monitoring. I would rather that they just not be able to do it rather than they get to have a bond, and then we try to figure out what the condition of the road was and how many other trucks traveled over it and how you would ever affect collection on a bond where you only have one person required to file one and everybody else gets to travel it would be extremely difficult. So that's why I requested that the bonding be removed. But I think that there is a significant number of changes in here that were necessary due to the road names were wrong, that all those, you know, that didn't have just one small piece that left people, and that we can take a look at the concerns you've expressed and see if we can find a better way to, or a different way to